Morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode here with me, the Woman Pod with Valerie Atkinson. How is everybody doing? I wanted to go ahead and start talking about the ego. I wanted this because I feel like this is one thing that we constantly run into. Not just myself personally, but I was like, you know what? What a better way to talk about it now as I'm experiencing it a lot, right? So I want to introduce you that the divine feminine energy is very nurturing, intuitive, and creative, right? It's a softer version of yourself. It's you connecting with yourself, your higher self, your purpose, your divine energy, right? You are infinite. So the ego, what I wanted to describe about the ego is that the ego will try to clash to things when you're attaching yourself to a certain outcome, certain external validation. And it does affect the flow with the divine feminine energy. So understanding this is going to help you gravitate not just in real life scenarios, but in everything, whether that's love, career, friends, family, if you're dating. I think this goes for all of the above. Honestly, I don't think people stress it enough. So I'm here to stress it on you enough so you can figure it out. And you're not crazy. You're not crazy, okay? So it's not limited to gender whatsoever. Okay, this is both male and female content. I know I express myself as a divine feminine. That is my niche, but it goes to both men and women. You know, you could be a man who embodies a lot of feminine energy, right? So let's get into it. So what the divine feminine is, it's very balanced energy, right? You're in the flow, you're intuitive, you're getting signs, you're getting little premonitions, or that deja vu. That's the divine feminine. It's something that comes into you and it's just messages you start receiving. That's what the divine feminine is. So when you see numbers, a song speaks to you, it's for you for a reason, right? There's certain things you're driving by, you see a sign, it has a message for you. That's the divine feminine. That's when you know you're connecting with the divine feminine. And this is you receiving, right? You're understanding, right? You're seeing it, you're visualizing it, and you're accepting that energy, right? Because you're in that energy of flow, right? Without any outcome or attachment. Hear me out. With ego will want control. Oh my God. Always, all the time. There's not a dull moment without that ego. Oof, coming from someone who was very egotistical, yeah, I'm going to talk about it because I was like, ooh, what a better way for someone who's already been through that, does that, has done it, and continuously tries to get into the middle ground. I was like, it has to be me, bitch. Like, it gotta be me because I know my exes are over there like, this girl was mean, blah, 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 blah. You know, she was a little crazy. Yeah, call me crazy. Call me all kinds of stuff. I accepted. Shit, I was crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little possessive. But there's a reason why. So some of them know, some of them don't know. But again, this is why you're here today. So the ego wants to validate. It wants to achieve. It wants to fight. It wants to keep it going, right? It's an instant gratification. It's a fucking dopamine hit, y'all. It's a fucking dopamine hit. That's what it is. It's like, yes, I got it. Let's go ahead and try and do it again, right? So make sure that you're understanding where these things come into play, right? You have to understand that concept, right? Separate the two, because yes, you do need both to survive, right? Let's be honest. We do need it at some point, right? If someone comes and you feel like threatened at some point, your ego's going to tell you, hey, we got to fight, we got to protect, right? So that's where you need to have some type of control, right? Because you have to understand when you're in this energy of like, okay, are they attacking me? Do I need to do something? That's perfectly normal. But we tend to get stuck in this energy vortex because we're so used to, one, the chaos that we used to live in when we were younger, right? We were always in survival mode. So we tend to attract what we are. So we have to be mindful of when we're in this energy and when to dissociate from it, because we got to bounce back to our actual flow state. So I want to tell you that the divine feminine energy is going to help you understand this, right? So I want you to understand that you are you are who you are, and there's nothing about it, right? You're like, well, Val, I can't figure it out. Yeah. This is where you need to understand the ego, right? When you're having a discussion with the ego, the word I comes up a lot, which is identity, right? It's an identity that it's built, and it's shaped by external influences, right? External things, objects, money, status, desires, and attachments, right? That's exactly how I see it. And it's so magnetic because that's what the ego wants, right? It wants to have some sense of control, some sense of stability. And it can vary by different things, guys. I'm not saying it's going to be the same for you, right? It could be exactly like it is for me for you, or vice versa, right? So the ego can definitely have an impact when you're experiencing the divine feminine energy by focusing outwards of yourself, right? So I was noticing where I was trying to look outside of myself for a lot of things, right? When it came to what I'm doing now and what I'm focusing on myself, right? So I realized, like, okay, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? Like, I wasn't even thinking about this, right? Is it material success, or is it the role that I play right now? Is this the identity that I want to build, or is this what I'm so familiar with because of what I've done, right? So I want to mention how this might look for you, an everyday thing, right? So I mentioned this a lot. I mentioned this a lot to everybody, that the ego can play with your head. It really can, because ego is the mind, y'all. Ego is the mind. I'm going to be honest with you guys. If you ain't awakened, you're going to wake the fuck up today. So yeah, let's get into it. 1 second here. 1 second. All right. Thank you so much. So again, going back to what we need to know, right? So for me, I tend to overdo sometimes when I'm in my mom role, right? I tend to act a certain way because I want my kids to think that I'm the perfect mom, which, bitch, you're doing great, by the way. Val, you're doing great. You're doing an amazing fucking job. So kudos to you. So be mindful of how you talk to yourself. This is one thing I have to constantly remind myself, like, okay, what are we having? Why are we talking like this to ourselves? What is it that we need? Vice versa, right? You have to talk to your identity, right? This other person, which is your identity, right? Because you're learning about this identity. You're constructing her, you're building him, vice versa. It could be different for all of y'all, right? So for me, also, I wanted to talk about a specific one. So I don't have a partner, but I'm actually, I think I've told you guys, or if you haven't listened into my podcast, I am seeing someone new. Right? And this person and I have been probably dating for about a month. We're going on 2 months this February, I believe. Yeah, I think so. And yeah, it's been great. But let me tell you where my ego gets attached at all times. Let's just be honest, right? But we're going to get into it. So I wanted to discuss, like, how I start to act a certain way when, one, either I don't get my way, or two, I don't see the external validation from this person. So I'm like, wait a minute, girl, why are we doing this again? This is the other identity of ourselves, which we have to be generous to her, right? Because again, we're not going to judge. We're not going to talk about her any way, shape, or form, but we need to build her, right? There's so many versions of her that have came to this reasoning, right, behind it, right? Because again, remember what I said, it's based off what you did when you were younger or how you were raised. So I know a lot of people are gonna like, no, Val, that doesn't make fucking sense. Okay, well then go back to school and figure it out then. Get off my podcast and go figure it the fuck out then. If you think you're that fucking smart, then go figure it out. I'm helping you out here. And anyways, gosh, see, that's my alter ego talking to you guys. See, my alter ego wants you to fucking understand that she's gonna attack at some point. Let me bring it back to my divine feminine here. I'm sorry. Apologies. So again, understand when you have your will and where is it coming from? Is it coming from the heart, or is it coming from the mind, right? Right now, I just told you that shit came from the mind. I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to keep it 100. That had to happen so y'all can understand what the hell I'm talking about. So The divine feminine energy is very authentic. It's going to be understanding, just like I did right now. That is the perfect fucking example for y'all. That's great that it happens right now so y'all can figure out what the hell I was talking about. So it's very context with the inner self, right? It knows what it wants for itself to feel whole. In the divine feminine, you are very open. You're understanding. You know what the hell's going on, right? Because you're in the flow state and you're not in survival mode. You're not what is going on mode. You're just like, oh, wait, that was my ego talking to me. Oh, wait, that's my higher self talking to me. So the ego can attach itself with the false self, right? I didn't do this good. I didn't understand what Val said. I don't understand why this person's not talking to me. I don't just picture it like that, right? It's a persona that's not aligned with the true divine essence of the feminine energy, right? So if someone is out of alignment, there's obviously something going on, right? The ego's wanting to try to step in and try to do everything that it wants to have some external validation. So what are the signs of the ego? This is when you're excessively people pleasing, guys. I used to be a people pleaser. And yeah, I was one of those. So make sure that we are continuously understanding why we're doing it, okay? Because otherwise we're going to end up having a burnout. Like Val, like always is like, we're always going to have a burnout at some point. So just make sure that you're understanding what that is, right? Understanding what that is. So let's go and get it. Seeking validation, right? I just mentioned earlier, right, about how I was wanting to understand why, all of a sudden, this is going on. So that's a perfect example, right? That's a perfect example. That's another one, right? Or perfectionism. Oh my God, let me tell you about this one. This is my biggest one, y'all. I always want to portray that I'm the perfect parent, but I fucking know that I'm just doing my best and I'm doing an amazing job. So I want you to know that you are doing an amazing job. Don't be the critic of being the perfect mom or perfect dad, because there's no such fucking thing. I'm going to be real. I'm going to keep it 100. Okay? Okay. All right. So what I wanted to share with you on how I was understanding what the hell I was doing, right? So I felt exhausted, right? I said I was going to do these things this weekend. I took the kids out shopping and then here we go back at the people pleasing part, right? And I was letting the guy know that I don't like the way that I'm saying it. So the person that I'm seeing, there we go. That sounds better because it sounded very cliche to me when it doesn't resonate with me. The person that, I've been talking to and I've been seeing now, like, it's like I can see where he starts to pull away because of the way that I'm feeling. And you're probably wondering, well, what do you mean, Val? Like, what is going on? Well, I started feeling like I was pleasing everybody outside of myself for what? Try to prove what to him? What am I trying to prove to him? Like, there's nothing to prove to him. I saw myself letting him know what's going on with the kids and how this and this and that. And I had mentioned a little thing about what happened the other day. And I said, wait a minute, why are we doing this again? I was like, here we go, going out of our way. This doesn't need to be happening, but maybe it did need to happen for me to understand what the ego is doing to me right now. So I understood at that point that I need to stop allowing myself to people please and fall back a little bit. Trust my process, right? Trust the me inside of me. I'm connected with my higher self and that everything's going okay. Everything's going in the right direction. I'm just going to keep moving forward. So he mentions to me, oh, how was your weekend? I just didn't want to talk to him. I hearted his message, but I also know what I did. So he had hearted my messages the Saturday night before. Obviously, my ego was like, oh, so you're just going to fucking heart my message? Ooh, my ego got a little, yeah. So get this, y'all. So I was like, all right, I see it. I've done it to him before. He's probably doing it to me back. And I was like, this is what I get for doing the same shit to him a couple weekends ago, where I wouldn't text back on a Saturday night because I just didn't feel like fucking texting him anymore. I'm going to be real. If he's listening to this, I just didn't feel like texting. I did it. Not that I don't care about you. I just didn't feel like fucking texting anymore. Like, I'm exhausted. Okay. So, anyways, I think he's doing it back to me, or at least I think that's what my ego wants to think. But then I said, wait a minute, Val, let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. Why are we doing this? Why are we acting this way? I was like, it's our ego. It's our ego. It wants an external validation. There's something inside of you which is honestly triggering something within you to ask, oh, so you're just gonna, I know for me what it is like, oh, you're gonna play with me, huh? So I said, no, we're not gonna give him an ego boost no more. This is enough. We people pleased a little too much there. Me needing to prove to him like I'm doing this for the kids, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, he don't need to know that. We're not even in a fucking relationship. He don't need to know that. But I get it. My divine feminine wants to overexpress. It wants to talk. It wants to be open and vulnerable. I was being vulnerable, which is totally fine. But I think I pleased too much to not just him, but my kids also, because I wanted to please them, right? And I was like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? Like, bounce back. So yeah, I took the weekend. I said, no, well, I'm going to get some R&R. I mentioned to him. And anyways, I said, good night. I'm going to get some rest. And that was that. I didn't tell him anything. I didn't ask questions. I didn't even ask about his weekend because I just didn't feel like asking. And I know that's my ego. I know that's my ego. And I can feel it because I know in my heart, it's in my heart. I feel it right now. So you're understanding, right? So these are unconscious patterns. So I wanted to tell you, these are my unconscious patterns, y'all. Why it starts acting this way, right? It's shadow work that obviously I need to work on because I have to face these unconscious parts of myself, which I took the time last night to light a candle, get in that bathtub and soak and sit in the silence and just ignore everything. And mind you, guess what happens as I'm finally relaxing? My oldest goes in the room and she starts spraying all of my body sprays. And I'm like, dude, I just wanted some peace. But I was like, all right, how are we going to handle this now? How are we going to handle this now? So I let her do what she was doing, right? I ignored it. She let go. Obviously, by the time I come out, I'm like, oh, it doesn't smell bad out here. This is a good combination of smells, right? And I think that was a thing that I need to heal about myself, right? When things unexpectedly happen, treat it like that, Val. Don't control a fucking outcome. Because in my mind, my ego wanted to say, oh, here we go again. You're coming to bother us. We wanted just the silence. But no, I had to, these are unconscious patterns about myself that I need to work on. Obviously, I'm expressing them with you guys so I can share it because maybe you are going through the same thing, right? So that moment I knew I need to have a talk with her every once in a while. Like, hey girl, like it's okay. Like it was just them going in the room. She was going in the room and that was that. So those are egoic behaviors that I have within myself. I don't like to be bothered when I'm trying to give myself the time of day. Let's be real, right? Who doesn't want to be bothered? The fuck? That's fucking disturbing, right? That's fucking disturbing. Like, bitch, I'm trying to have a cup of coffee and here you come trying to call me. Like, so this is when I knew I was like, okay, we need to have more time for Val. We need to have a little more time, a little more compassion with her and soothe her and understand her. Where is she coming from? Why are these things happening? Obviously, it goes deeper for me, but I don't want to go too long to express this with you guys because that'll be another episode. But what you want to do is balance, right? Because the masculine is structure and the feminine's providing the intuitive, creative energy, right? Because I had to integrate both of these energies within that time frame, I knew that I have to become healthier, right? How do I recognize these and how can I move forward? So when it's in balance, the masculine goes to ego, guys. It's ego-driven needs, right? It wants control, possessiveness, and needs external validation. It wants to know what the hell is going on. This is when you know you're out of balance and you need to get back into balance, okay? So that's a big one for me. You want to realign yourself, spending as much time outside. Actually, yesterday, I went outside with the kids for like a few minutes and I just let us step on the ground. I really did. The baby was excited. Her face got a little red. Her little cheeks got a little red because she's a little flustered. But we needed that vitamin D. We needed that exploration. The wind just blowing in my face for once when it had been too many long. I don't know. It's probably been a freaking year, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I don't go out as much. So that felt good. And I want to encourage you guys that an ego is a part of you, but part of what is going on, you have to explore the parts of yourselves that have been influenced by the ego, right? The attachment, and how you can return back to your authentic divine feminine nature. So make sure you understand where you're coming from and why it's going on for you. Mine is probably not going to be as perfect as yours, and don't let it be perfect. It's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be all the way I just described it, but in different ways. So I want to close it up for some thoughts here. The importance of understanding and releasing the ego attachments in order to fully embody that divine feminine energy for my melon women. I want to encourage you to stay mindful when you're continuing this journey of self-discovery and empowerment. You're doing amazing. Don't be a critic to yourself. You heard my story. I want to invite you guys to reflect with your ego and meditate with your ego and engage with your personal practices to let go of the ego-based patterns. You heard what I said. I had to go back to Val, slow down the roll by going into the bathtub, putting a bath bomb on, and just putting a candle on and just slowing down. That was something that I needed to do for Val to feel understood, to feel what was going on, to feel whatever emotion that was coming up for me, to understand what she needed, right? So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I know it's a little short and sweet, but I wanted to get this out because I was like, why not share this beautiful message to every one of you guys? And not only for myself, because I'm going to go back and listen to it myself too. Anyways, guys, much love and light to you guys, and have an amazing week today. Thanks again. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, hit the notification bell. That way you get notified when this goes live for you guys. Anyways, much love.